What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning in. So today we're pretty much going to be talking about setting up a monitoring situation for a home studio. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and we'll break down some cool things today. I've got a bunch of bullet points which I shall break down for you. But yeah, so pretty much I want to cover these few main points first, just to get everyone on the same page and just to kind of get an overview of what we're going to be speaking about. So the most common kind of monitoring setups in a home studio would generally be a pair of speakers and an audio interface and some headphones, right? That's generally what you have. But you know, just for everyone who doesn't know, so you've got your near field monitors, which I'll pop up on the screen. Near field monitors are your 5 to 8 inch just common kind of speakers you would find in a shop. Now there are many pros and cons to these kind of setups, and you know, the best pro is firstly that they're easily accessible, right? You can just go to the store and buy some Yamaha HS7s, 5s, 8s, you know, some JBL 305s, whatever. Those are good speakers. The big pro about them as well is that they're active, meaning that they're self-powered, meaning that they have an amplifier built into the speaker. That just saves you a lot of money for buying a amplifier. As you know, amplifiers on their own can get very expensive. Now the con to that is obviously that they're going to use cheaper materials, but in the last 20 years, you know, technology gets better, you know, the speakers get better. So yeah, the biggest con I would say to your near field monitors, right, your normal speakers, are that generally people don't have great rooms when they are setting up their first studio, right? So that'll be some of the things that we'll be focusing on, you know, investing in a good room before you even get your speakers. But anyway, that's for later on. Now we have our headphones as well, right? So our two common monitoring methods, I don't know, tools for monitoring headphones. Now the biggest pro for headphones is that there's no ambience, right? There's no room that you have to worry about. You know, you put them on your head and there you go. And another pro that I'm not thinking of is that many people are listening on headphones these days. So you know, like I get kind of tired of wearing headphones, but I understand that that's where the market is, that's where your listeners are. You need to mix for that platform, you know what I mean? So yeah, the con to it obviously is that, you know, your ears tend to fatigue really quickly because, you know, our ears are not naturally used to having speakers so close to us. So, you know, it can be detrimental if you know, listening to your headphones for 20 minutes really loud non-stop. You know, you can really start to damage your hearing. You know, another little fun point is Alex Tomei swears by his what headphones do I have here? I don't even have the 50s. These are the Audio-Technica ATH M30s. I would recommend getting the 50s if you really want some great headphones. But yeah, so that's pretty much our main points. Now we'll get into kind of my little breakdown from, you know, room treatment all the way to mastering. I am by no means, you know, on some high level pro stuff, but I'm just giving you my opinion. So anyway, the first thing that I would consider if you have money and are ready to, you know, make a shift in your recording setup is to worry about your location, right? What room, you know, we have to mix sound in a room, right? So we're not just going to sit outside and let, you know, our equipment get rained on. So we need to be in a room. So if you have a room and you've got a square room with bare walls, you're in a pretty bad situation. Now, that bad situation is treatable, right? You can buy some room treatment. You can build a room treatment yourself. You know, the best thing I always tell people is don't, you know, do the research and then hire somebody that can do, you know, a bit of building for you or whatever. You know, it's much cheaper than, or you can just, you know, invest in buying the Auralex stuff. Maybe I'll pop a picture on the screen of just some sound treatment that you can get, and then you can watch, there's a video series by Rode Microphones called like, you know, Studio Repair or something. Just type in Rode Microphone Studio Repair, and that guy literally breaks down, you know, the most important things for getting your room right. Because once you got your room right, you can then start worrying about your monitoring. You see, what people tend to do is they spend, you know, $1,000, $2,000 on equipment and then realize that their room is really bad, and really you just like kind of playing in the sand, and you know, because you've got all this great equipment but the room itself is not allowing this equipment to shine really. So that's why I stress so much on it. The next thing I would worry about is your A to D DTA conversion. Now obviously, as I said, technology has gotten much better in the past few years. So for those who don't know, A to D DTA is your analog to digital, digital to analog conversion. Now obviously, like my voice right now, it goes from an analog signal into the audio interface, so that means it's going from analog to digital. When you are listening to your music coming out of your speakers, it is D to A, right? It's converting all the digital data that is audio into an analog signal, which your speaker can then transmit. So I definitely, say invest in a decent one. If you, like I had an M Audio one, just a kind of consumer, prosumer one, similar to all the, cheaper Focusrites and whatever. But when you really invest in a more expensive audio interface, you can just really hear much better. You're not just kind of muddling in frequencies. You can really hear each little problem in a mix, and you can, kind of pinpoint that and fix it. So really why this is important is because it'll save you time in the long run. And the biggest pro is if you can buy a slightly more expensive interface, you can literally just mix with headphones then for a while until you can afford speakers. Because if you can get a great A to D converter or audio interface, let's call it, and then some really good headphones, you are going to be miles ahead of everyone that is mixing in an untreated room with, Yamaha speakers or whatever the case. So yeah, that's pretty much what we'll talk about in terms of room treatment and in terms of investing. The next thing we'll talk about is while recording, right? Because obviously, you hear as a recording artist, I'm guessing, or as a beginner engineer or mid-level engineer or whatever it is, while recording, I'll kind of give you how I do it. Because I don't have a vocal booth or whatever, generally, I don't like that vibe of putting someone in a box, you know what I mean? Although I would personally not mind to be in one, but a lot of artists kind of want to be next to the engineer. We can talk about the music. How I usually do that is, and this is also another thing with having a slightly more expensive audio interface, is you can have multiple headphone outs, right? So you can have up to 2 or 3. 2 is generally the standard for slightly more expensive interfaces. So pretty much what we do is we set up the microphone. We do some takes, with headphones. You really learn to hear these slight nuances, if that's the word I can use, to how the voice is sounding within the headphones. So you can get a good idea, you mix, you record, not mix, you just record, get some takes, and then you can listen on your big speakers, right? So you wear headphones, record, right? Because you don't want your speakers playing back while recording. And then you can, once your artist is ready to listen, you can, play back the music on big speakers. And then generally once your client is left or you've finished recording, you can then take a break. I always suggest to step away from what you've just recorded, 20 minutes, go sit outside, eat lunch, whatever. You take a break, come back, and then listen on your big speakers again. That way you can then, sit down with a fresh perspective. This is good or not? What do we need to redo? You know what I mean? You can repeat that cycle until you've got your full song, until you've got your album, whatever. That always works. And during that you can go and listen on, car system, whatever. But anyway, while mixing, right, that's another thing that most of us are doing. We're mixing music, we're mixing our voice, we're doing whatever. What I generally recommend, if you've got a fresh project that you've just opened up in your DAW, what I recommend is if you have the speakers, just listen to them on your speakers at a nice, decent level, not loud, obviously, just at a low level, decent level, so you can hear everything in the mix. That way you can get an idea of what you need to do. You know what I mean? It's always important to have a attack strategy when mixing. You don't want to just start adding EQs and compressors. You know what I mean? So that's why your near-field monitors are really good for just getting an idea and fixing any problems. You can always hear, like, if your vocal's too noisy, you can hear it on near-field monitors. It's not a bad speaker. You know what I mean? The near-field monitor. Most pros are still using near-fields, even though there are many different speaker sizes within a professional studio. Anyway, once you've done your first mix, or your first kind of phase of mixing, take a break. I learned that from Seth Firkins, rest in peace. He always says, like, when he would mix future stuff, he would open up the session, take a listen to it, and start mixing. You know what I mean? He would aggressively start mixing for half an hour to an hour, and then you step away from it. You know what I mean? And then something else I learned from another engineer, I can't remember who, but when you sit down again, listen to a different song. So that's my ref. I always have a channel in my session called ref. And what that is it'll be a future song. It'll be a Young Thug song. You know what I mean? It'll be a song that I can kind of take inspiration from and also hear if I'm going in the right direction in terms of the mix. And then you just repeat that cycle over and over and over again until you've got your mix sounding A grade. Don't ever mix too long on one thing, 2-3 hours and you're done. Like, you can't mix anymore, your ears will be tired. Anyway, now we've got our mastering, and that's really basic. We start our mix off the same as we did with our mixing, on our normal speakers, just in our general environment. If you do headphones, you listen on your headphones. And then, start your mastering, add your limiters, add your EQs to your master chain if needed. And then what I recommend you do is, and even go and buy one. There's a little speaker that's really good called a Shock speaker. It's just a little home device speaker, you know what I mean? So print your mix, to MP3, put it on your cell phone, play it on the cell phone speaker, play it on your shock speaker. It's really just a little speaker. Go play it in your car, go play it on your DVD player, on your TV. And you know what I mean, then you'll have a better idea of what your mix is going to sound like in many systems, because that's another problem you can have when you get nice speakers and you get this and that, is that you might mix your music to sound really good on your speakers, but everywhere else it sounds like trash. So that's not a good mix, you know what I mean? That's more of a personal kind of project, you know what I mean? You want your stuff to be publicly good, you know what I mean? So yeah, anyway, that was it. That's all I can really speak on. This is how I perceive it, and this is how I think I would do it. Obviously, in a professional studio, you've got your near field monitors, your midfield monitors, which are slightly bigger, 10-inch speakers, 12-inch speakers, and then you've got your main monitors, which are like your massive club speakers. Now, those are generally used just for vibe, to play, to feel how it would feel in a club, especially important for your EDM guys and all that. But anyway, that's a different video. I don't really monitor much on massive speakers, so I wouldn't know. Anyway, it is your boy Farai. If you enjoyed the video in some way, please like and subscribe. 4,200 subscribers. Hey, we doing it, man. Shout out to everyone that tunes in every week. Much love, man. It is your boy Farai signing out. Peace.